I'm going
I'm going to make you co-host now.
to. I will let people in. So, hi, people. Thanks for coming back. Oh, my goodness. When I first saw that first chat, I thought, Tema did not say that. And so, there you go. Zoom bombing, they call this. It's very interesting how that happens. And it's always interesting to me that this is something that anyone would want to do. I don't quite understand that. So I'm going to be letting in only people whose names I recognize, and the other people who are trying to get in can watch on the YouTube channel later, because if I don't recognize you, then I just don't feel safe letting people in that I don't know at this point, which is very sad, actually. Okay, we're going to try to thank you. We're going to try to recoup. We're going to recoup. We're going to backtrack. Let's do this. Let's ground ourselves once more. Just find your roots in the earth. Draw that energy up once more, and then imagine and find the circle that we sent out last time. Find that circle that is surrounding and protecting all of us. Excellent. All right, we'll take a nice deep breath and we'll come back here. Okay. Yeah, wow, that is such an interesting thing to me. Why there would be people who would want to do something like that. I just don't understand it. I understand if this isn't your thing, if this is not your brand of spirituality, if it's not something that you believe in or cotton to, or if it doesn't work for you. But the desire to ruin it for others is an interesting thing to me. And I recognize that usually comes from people who are not feeling very powerful in their own lives. And so they seek to do things like this to feel like they have some agency. And I just wish that, the agency that people have would be for the highest good, not to try to trash somebody or something. But what I will ask all of us to do right now is to find the love in our hearts. And in a moment, let's take a nice deep breath. And when we exhale, let's send the energy out of love to those people so that we counter this madness with love. And perhaps somehow they will feel loved and kind of take a nice deep breath. So let's find the love in our hearts for those. Let's find the love and the compassion in our hearts for those who try to ruin things for others, ruin beautiful things for others, understanding that that comes from a very wounded place within themselves. Let's find our compassion for that. And let's find and recognize that they probably do not feel loved. And let's find our unconditional love. And we'll take a nice deep breath now. And we'll send it out to them on the exhale. That's the way to go, I think. I am going to take a moment here, and I'm going to I have to text Teresa and tell her to come back on. I'm going to do that right now. Come back on. Okay, great. Here we are. So, where was I? I was on the river of life. I was talking about the metaphor of the river of life and how we know and how similar that river is to our own lives by these things, that it is in motion like us. that it is on a trajectory like we are, that we pick up stuff along the way, and that some of the things that we pick up are necessary to live very healthy lives. There she is. Great. And some of the things that we collect bring pleasure and beauty, and some of the things that we collect are things that we want to give to other people. So there's nothing inherently wrong with collecting the beauty that we find in the earth or in our earthly experience. But some of the things that we collect are not healthy or can become burdensome. And the good news is that we can let them drop into life's current. We can let them drop. We can always let go of the things that we have collected. That is, if we haven't become identified with them and if we are willing to let them go. Those are big ifs, but they're important ifs. And I think as we journey along the river of life, it's a really good idea to take a look at what we are collecting. Because if we are collecting too much, or if we are collecting the wrong things, it can make our boat pretty heavy. And we don't want to sink. We want that current to continue to have us floating along. Rivers meander also, like us, like life. There may be straight segments of rivers, but rivers are not linear. The force of the water goes this way and that way, just like we do in life. We might say that we have a goal and we're headed over here, but getting to that goal might take us this way and that way. Also, we know that, the water comes rushing down the mountain and forms a river. It's carving through land. Sometimes it comes upon a really big boulder, and the water must rush around the boulder. So there's two things about that. One is we're going to find boulders in our lives. We're going to hit up against some boulders in our lives. And sometimes the best we can do is navigate around them and move on. Sometimes we can't, no matter how hard we try, we might not be strong enough to push the boulder. That is the burden, the challenge, the problem. We might not be strong enough to push that and make any progress. Our progress might be to say, this boulder is here and I need to go around it, like the wise water does. The other thing I want to say about that is that when we go around that boulder, we might think that we have gone completely halfway around that boulder, and as we move forward again, that we are still on the same trajectory. Sometimes we hit up against a boulder and it moves us, and when we come around it, we might not be exactly where we were when we were in front of the boulder. We might be a little bit off, and so as we continue on our trajectory, we end up someplace completely different. This is also part of the beauty of life. We think we're going somewhere, but we might end up somewhere else. We think we're supposed to become this, but we might end up that. We think we're going this way, but we turned out going that way. That's part of the current of life. And when we look at the river of life as a metaphor, like our spirit that carries us, our desires that carry us, it's good to go with the flow. Sometimes what we think we want, what we're shooting for, might not be what the goddess had intended for us. And we might find as time goes on that we end up in a very different place. All that to say that sometimes in the river of life, those boulders can make us really upset and frustrated, but sometimes, often, probably all the time, they are exactly where they need to be. And whatever it is that we encounter when we come up against that boulder is exactly what we needed for us to learn and grow. Rivers sometimes flow really, really quickly, like in the spring, when the glaciers start to melt or what have you. That water is flowing really fast, like life. And sometimes they are stagnant, life, like us. Sometimes our lives seem to drag on forever, like the time of this pandemic just seems to be going on forever and forever and forever. But sometimes our life seems so accelerated that we can't keep up. It's an interesting thing about how that river carries us. So there are times when our lives may seem to be stagnant and we lose momentum, but we always move on. We always eventually move on because the river of life carries us. The rivers are mighty. The river of life is mighty, and it changes the topography, like us, like life. We carve our rivers carve their way through the land, and over time, the water of life rushing a certain way again and again and again creates a new landscape, just as we carve our mark on the world also by the things that we do, and often the things that we do repeatedly. We create a new landscape. Sometimes the river ride is amazing, and we love it. Sometimes the river carries us into very treacherous waters, and we are fearful or sorrowful or angry waters, and we rage and we grieve. But a ride is a ride, and we are on it. We are in that river, and we are all in that river together, and it carries us. And so now Teresa is going to sing to us all about that.
Why was I born? What am I to do? Where am I going next? Who the hell are you? Who knows what sweet thing it is that turns the world? Now all I see is the river of life, the river of life. All I see is the river of life, the river of life. I had a sweet romantic love, the kind I always wished I would. We all know romantic love does no one any good. I prefer a love like ours, the kind that skins its knees. Now all I see is the river of life, river of life. All I see is the river of life, the river of life. Whoa, we saw the Queen of Heaven once. She was dancing in the sky. She leaned down to whisper in our ears, no one ever dies. Because the love you've brought to earth has set the whole world free. Now all I see is the river of life, the river of life. All I see is the river of life, the river of life. All I see is the river of life. The river of life has brought you to me.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much. I'm looking for that little reaction thing. Yay, clap, 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 clap. Thank you, sweetheart. That was just so beautiful. You can see why that song inspired me when I heard it. I just listened to it over and over and over again. So, Thanksgiving is coming right up. What? How did that happen? Holy moly. And our consciousness turns toward our blessings and what we are grateful for. Of course, we don't just count our blessings in November, connect to our ancestors in October, and contemplate the light that we are in the world in December, right? These are things that happen in an ongoing way. They should be ongoing practices, and hopefully they are. Regardless of the faith path that you walk, I would highly recommend, if nothing else, that your ongoing spiritual practice is to stay connected to your ancestors, to continually count your blessings, and to shine your light in the world the best you can, as often as possible. That's the kind of the world I know that we all want to live in. Instead, what we see are some troubles and dangers out there, kind of like what happened not too long ago. And they are real, as we can see. If you are in any way awake on planet Earth right now, you know what I am talking about. Recently, I read these words on social media by Chris Zidell, and I wanted to share it with you as both a reflection and a directive. She writes, "My heart is breaking. My mind is reeling. My body is shaking. My emotions ranging from grief to rage to terror to despair, simply trying to make room in my own being for my oh so human responses to what's happening in our world right now. And today I have work to do. Good and holy work, work that requires me to show up, to be present to myself, to my people, to my spirit, to life itself. And I will do that work and continue to do that work because, like always, that work is there to be done." I just thought that was so beautiful, because it's one of those, we want to just crawl away into a hole and go into denial, but there's work to be done. And it can be a both and. We can have those difficult emotions, but we must keep doing the work. It is easier for us to shine our light in the world when we stay connected to our ancestors, feeling their love, their guidance, and their strength from the other side, when we continually count our blessings. This is the true work, I think. And no matter what our jobs are, that hopefully keep a roof over our head and food on the table and clothes on our backs, this is the true work, to keep showing up, to do the right work, to stay connected to the ancestors, and to keep counting our blessings and shining our own light. Our ancestors give us strength and guidance to shine our light into the world. Counting our blessings buoys us along the river of life. So let's take a moment now and count our blessings, shall we? We do this at every November service. So if you would, once more, close your eyes and go within. And find your grounding cord deep in the earth that you sent down at the beginning of the service. And if you haven't done that, go ahead and ground yourself now. Bring yourself very present to this moment and take a nice deep breath. And then think for a moment about how well you are right here and right now. In this moment, you are here. You are well enough to be here. You are safe where you are. We are alive and we are free. So let's lift our hearts in gratitude for these blessings. Imagine that you can pull a metaphoric string and your heart actually lifts within your rib cage. And it feels better when it lifts. So go ahead and lift it now. It rises in the awareness of these blessings, that you are well and here. Lift your heart in thanks for this gift. Now think about the love in your life, about who you love and who loves you. And if you can't think of anyone who loves you, think about me, because I love you. And think about what you love in your life or what you love about your life. And think about how love in any and all of its forms makes life worth living. And lift your heart in gratitude for that gift. Now let's think of some of the practical things in our lives. Think about your home, the roof over your head, even if it's not your roof, your clothing, how you don't go hungry, all the blessings of your creature comforts that sustain you in a good way. Let's just take a moment and think about all of those beautiful practical gifts. Water comes right to us when we turn on the tap, and we can turn on the heat and turn on the lights and go to the fridge and find what we need to keep our bellies full. We are blessed, and we lift our hearts in gratitude for those gifts. Now let's just take a moment of silence, and in your heart and in your soul, count whatever other blessings you might have. I'm sure you have many more. Think about what those are and continually lift your heart in gratitude. And take another deep breath. Gently bring yourself back here. Recently, I finished reading a fabulous book called Belonging, Remembering Ourselves Home by Toko Pa Turner. It's fantastic. I wish I wrote that book. I loved it so much. I loved her language. I loved everything that she had to say. On the chapter on gratefulness in this book, Belonging, Remembering Ourselves, there's this beautiful couple of paragraphs that she had that I wanted to share with you. She says, as we pay respectful gratitude for the jewels strewn throughout a day, pleasure begins to reach and flow through us. We become more generous of spirit, not simply in the sense of giving things away to others, but as a demeanor. Like an open door to the divine, pleasure is an invitation to joy, that we may live more fully in our lives. Breathe into the fullness of your expanded self and consider what presents itself as fear may actually be exhilaration. So I want to stop here for a moment because that is a very interesting thing. Fear might actually be exhilaration because the physiological response to fear and being exhilarated are very similar. We might catch our breath. We might stop and look around. It might heighten our awareness. We might become alert. We might think, oh my God, I'm afraid. But we might actually be exhilarated. And so it's very good to just always keep sort of one eye kind of over and looking at what it is that we are experiencing, because we might be thinking it's one thing when it's something else. And that sort of heightened awareness, which I know I talk about all the time in Gaia's Temple, is beautiful. And it can be the difference between living really beautifully and happily and pretty miserably. So she says, consider the fullness of your expanded self and consider what presents itself as fear may actually be exhilaration. She goes on to say, as your future approaches, worry less about how it may receive you and say a prayer instead for your becoming more approachable. I love this. I'm practicing this all the time now, focusing more on how I want to be in the world rather than what the world elicits from me, what situations and people, how they make me feel, and then I respond in a habituated way. I'm trying to stay in that place of how do I want to be in response to the world? How can I become approachable rather than worrying about what's coming at me? Very interesting little switcheroo there. Finally, she says, recognize the invisible hands that guide you, the breath that breathes you, the walls and roof that keep cold from chilling you, the water that magically springs from your taps, the long line of ancestors whose every step has made your incarnation possible. You belong to these holy helpers. You have undisputed membership. In your recognition of this wealth, your own life cannot help but become an offering back to that which feeds you. Could there be anything more beautiful than that? That our lives become an offering back to that which feeds us. Essentially, she's talking about the principle of reciprocity, and that is crucial for our well-being. So here we are in November. Like I said, wow comes up so quickly, and it drops us into the depths of the year. It is clear now, clear as day now, that we are in seasonal darkness way more than we are in seasonal light. Autumn is just so spectacular. And this was a gorgeous autumn here in the Northwest. And I mean that in the true sense of the word, spectacular. It was a spectacle, so beautiful, eye candy. And the glorious weather, of course, fog and frost signal my favorite time of the year, the cool and the cozy, the dark and delicious, the grateful and the gracious. The goddess is an artist, and I think some of her best work happens in autumn. The Roman philosopher Seneca said that of all the art forms, painting, sculpting, playing an instrument, living is the most difficult. How would our lives be different, and how would they be better if we thought of ourselves as artists and our lives as our greatest creations? I believe that we co-create our reality with the divine. I believe that there is a greater picture. I definitely believe in the fates, and I can follow the non-dual thinking that it's all just happening and we are kind of going along for the ride in that river of life. But I do believe we co-create our reality because we have some free will. I do believe we have free will. We came here like raw material into the world that would be shaped by this difficult art of living. So as we sail down the river of our lives, we are shaped by the currents that we experience. We start as one thing and we end up as something else. But as Teresa will remind us in this next song, we are each of us such fine things.
Wow. Thank you, Judith. It's so beautiful. It once was clay in an artist's hands. It once was mud mixed with sand, but the fire turned it blue and singed it gold. Now it can hold such fine things like blood red plums and hot mulled wine, rocks and rings and balls of twine, and the deepest trace of the artist's soul in that bowl. Now it can hold such fine things. I'm an old girl now, and I've had my day. The great loves that were have all gone away, and the dreams I knew that should all come true never did. I'm left instead with such fine things, like the morning light through the redwood trees, and my friend's young son, who often walks with me across the ridge to the Willow Creek Bridge, holding hands, his little hands are such fine things. I once was clay in an artist's hands. I once was mud mixed with sand, but the fire turned me blue and singed me gold. Now I can hold such fine things, such fine things.
Thank you, Teresa. That's like one of my own. Thank you so much. So beautiful. Well, my friends, may you allow yourself to stay deep in the depth of this year. Continue to contemplate the river of life that's carrying you along. Maybe one of the things you'll pick up from the river is something you can use as an oar, and you can steer your life a little more consciously and have a better ride. May the co-creation of your life be lovingly collaborative, filled with generosity, humility, and grace. May the river of your life carry you smoothly through winter's darkness, bringing peace and comfort and rest. May your blessings be too many to count. I count you among my blessings, and I'm so grateful that the river of life has brought you to me. Blessed be. Well, this is where we open up the floor for our prayers. I will remind you that eventually this is going to be up on YouTube, so if you would rather offer your prayers more privately, you can use the chat feature. But if you would like to offer up a prayer at this time, then there's a little feature there under reactions, and you can raise your hand, and Tema will see your hand, and she'll call on you, and you can feel free to speak your prayer. And when you're finished, say, "Blessed be," so we know you're done, and we'll move on to the next person. Anybody got a prayer for us today? Well, I would like to pray for whoever it was who interrupted our service today. And I would like to pray that that person finds peace in their heart and soul, and that they are safe enough to soften. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Beautiful.
Tina, you're up.
Speaker's on now. I would like to offer a prayer of comfort and support to my good friend Andrea. She's got an important meeting at work tomorrow and it's weighing heavy on her. She's could use a boost of recognizing her own power. So sending her lots of love and support. I'd also like to offer a prayer of gratitude for my sister who has done so much work around the care of my father as he passed a few weeks ago, and just a massive load of work as we prepare for his funeral. So a blessing of all the things, love and gratitude for her for the work that she does, and a prayer of healing and comfort to her in the days to come as well. A blessing for my family, my household, and my extended family as we grieve his passing. And as always, a prayer of gratitude for the Gaia's Temple community and the many friends that I value here. I love all of you. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Thank you, Stina.
Anyone else?
No other prayers at this time? I trust they're all in your hearts. And we'll say, may all our prayers be heard and answered. Blessed be. So if we were all together in one place, this is where we would pass the love offering baskets. But of course, we can't do that here. So, but what I will ask you to do is that if you feel moved by this service, served by this service, and wish to contribute to help supporting our ministry, we will ask you to please go to our website and push the donate button and contribute your contribution that way. We are a nonprofit, so everything that you contribute is tax deductible. And also to let you know that we as an organization tithe 10% of what comes into our love offering baskets to other nonprofits in alignment with our mission and vision and values. And today we will be tithing 10% to the Rainforest Action Network, which campaigns for the forests, their inhabitants, and the natural systems that sustain life by transforming the global marketplace through education, grassroots organization, and nonviolent direct action. So know that anything that you contribute today, on this day, 10% of your contribution will go to Rainforest Action Network. We always sing when we pass the baskets. So Tema is going to put the words up to the song that we usually sing. Once again, please mute yourself, and I'll lead it as we sing it through 3 times through. Here we go. Thank you, Mother Earth, for your gifts of love today. Thank you, Mother Earth. We are following your way. Thank you, Mother Earth, for your gifts of love today. Thank you, Mother Earth. We are following your way. One more. Thank you, Mother Earth, for your gifts of love today. Thank you, Mother Earth. We are following your way. Thank you so much for all of your donations. They are greatly, greatly appreciated. So I'd like to take a moment to thank some people who are just amazing to help us out. First, I want to thank my board of directors. The women on my board of directors are amazing people. They show up continually in every way. They are dedicated to keeping this ministry going, and I don't know what I would do without you. So to Karina Frenzel, who's not here today, to Noemi Chaparro, Stina Brown, Tamma Gottsberg, and Maggie Yael Wilson, thank you so much for your attention and your help and your dedication to Gaia's temple. Mari, as we know, was unable to make it today, and Tema, who was just going to be singing in the directions and reading the invocation, turned into our tech goddess at the last moment. So she took on so much. Tema, thank you so much for being here today and for all your work and your extra work and that cool, calm, collected head of yours when everything goes awry. Thank you so much for that. And our beautiful singer today, Teresa Taduri, thank you so much for your gorgeous music. Thanks for showing up for us here today and all the beauty that you bring. Also in the chat room, you can find out how to buy Teresa's music directly from her CDs. She's got a radio program called From the Double Wide, and that is on like Tuesdays, and then they replay it on Thursday. So all that information is in the chat, ways to find her website, and please support your local artist, even though she's in New Mexico. Support your beautiful artists who bring such beauty to us. Thank you, Teresa, so much for your beauty today. Thank you, thank you. So I always close with a closing thought. And today I have words that were written by John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Blessed be." All right, so we'll go back to Tema. She will sing out the directions and we'll sing along with her. I just muted myself during all that, so I'll repeat it again. Tema will sing out the directions, we'll sing our closing song, and hopefully you'll stay for fellowship afterwards. Thanks so much. Okay, Tema.
All right, and we're on speaker view and everyone can see me now? Okay, wonderful. To the north and powers of earth. Go if you must, stay if you will, within or without, we remain with you still. To the waters of the west. Go if you must, stay if you will, within or without, we remain with you still. To the south and fire. Go if you must, stay if you will, within or without, we remain with you still. To the east and air. Go if you must, stay if you will, within or without, we remain with you still. And to the center, the spirit that connects us all. Go if you must, stay if you will, within or without, we remain with you still.
Okay, so do we have a slide for that final song, or do we all just know it and we'll sing it along anyway? Here it comes. Here we go. The circle is open and unbroken. May the love of the goddess go in our hearts. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. And so, Tema, you'll stop the recording, yeah?